We're kicking off a brand new chapter of the podcast with a special 21-day series called From Purpose to Impact. I'm celebrating by giving back to listeners who are ready to take the next step. If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure of how to move forward in your online business, I want to hear from you. Simply go to youronlinebusinessmentor.com and tell me what's been holding you back. Or ask a question you'd love for me to answer on the show, and you'll be entered in a special listener giveaway for access to programs designed to support you in your journey. I can't wait to help you get unstuck and moving forward. So excited to welcome you to this reboot of my podcast. I'm Lydia Martin, your online business mentor. And if you've been listening for a while, this episode definitely marks a new chapter in the podcast. Over the past few years, the podcast has been called Launch Perspective, and I have absolutely loved this journey with you. I've gotten so many amazing messages and feedback about the podcast, but honestly, I have not been consistent, and I think it's because I needed to realign a few things in my business. And now that I've done that, I have so much clarity on what I want to talk about on the podcast, who I'm serving, and how I help. And so today is the first episode of this reboot and a brand new 21-day series that I'm calling From Purpose to Impact. So this last year has definitely been a season of reflection for me. March 2nd of 2026 marks my 6-year anniversary since I officially started my business. My business was called Banish Business Clutter for the last 6 years, but over the past several months, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. Really looking back on what actually moved the needle, what didn't, what I wish I had understood a little bit sooner. But honestly, it has been such an incredible journey because the reflection has led to the rebrand of my business from Banish Business Clutter to Launch with Lydia. And let me just tell you, it just feels so good to be aligned. So why did I decide to do all of this rebrand? Why did I create this series? Because when I look back over my journey and the journey of so many entrepreneurs that I've worked with, I see the same pattern again and again. So many people feel called to create something meaningful. They have ideas, expertise, skills, and a deep desire, like I did, to help others. But they hesitate to launch. They wait, they procrastinate, they second guess, they overthink. And that hesitation is almost always fueled by fear, overwhelm, or uncertainty, not lack of ability. And so in this 21-day series, I want to pull out these fears. I want to talk about them. I want to just hit them head on because I feel like by talking about what holds people back from launching their business or launching their offer or launching their next idea, is going to help you get unstuck from that thing. I want you to be able to move forward. And so I'm going to be spending some time answering real questions that listeners have submitted and questions that you might be carrying around right now. We're going to be talking about clarity, confidence, focus, offers, that fear of failing, fear of what others think, and how to move forward when everything just doesn't feel clear yet. How do you make decisions that build momentum? So I want to start off this series with a truth that changed everything for me. And that is this: waiting for clarity is often the very thing that keeps you stuck. Clarity does not come before action. It comes from action. And I didn't always believe that. From 2014 to 2020, I lived in a constant state of almost ready, almost confident, almost clear, almost launching. I had all these ideas. I had experience. I had this belief of something I had inside me to share. I definitely wanted to do something meaningful, but I stayed stuck in overthinking, stuck in imposter syndrome, and that fear of making the wrong decision. I kept telling myself that I was being responsible and careful, but if I'm being honest, I was just afraid. I was afraid to make a decision. I was afraid to make the wrong decision because choosing meant committing, and committing meant I might fail. And failing just felt so personal. But everything changed for me in 2020. After 6 years of dreaming about launching my own digital business, I left my corporate job without having everything figured out. I had no idea what my long-term niche would be, but I made a decision. I picked a business name, I bought a domain, I chose an audience to serve, and I launched my first course before it was built. Was it perfect? Not even close. Was it the thing I'd still be doing 6 years later? No, as you just heard, my entire business model has changed. But it was the thing that got me moving. And here's why I feel like this matters. I didn't discover my true direction before I started. I didn't even discover it when I started. I discovered it by launching something again and again. I learned how I like to teach. I learned what my students actually needed. I learned what energized me and what didn't. I learned how to support with real transformation and not just deliver content. But that clarity didn't come until I made the commitment. By going all in with my business and just making the next decision, just taking the next step again and again, that is what brought clarity. So if you are like many entrepreneurs and you're saying things like, I just don't know what my next step is. I don't want to pick the wrong thing. I don't want to waste time or money. I want you to hear this. You're not wrong for wanting clarity, but clarity is not something you wait for in isolation. It's something that forms when you move. You don't get the full map before you start the journey. You get the next turn once you're already on the journey. So if you're still standing still, staring at the map, hoping it will magically fill itself in, you are going to stay exactly where you are. It's movement that reveals direction. Being unclear does not mean you're unqualified. It doesn't mean you're behind. It just means you care deeply about this. But indecision has a cost. It costs momentum, it costs confidence, and it costs time that you don't get back. And I say this with total understanding because I have lived this experience. If I could go back and talk to the version of me who spent years waiting, I would tell her this. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take one step forward. So make a decision on that one offer you're going to launch, on that one audience you're going to serve, on that one decision you're willing to learn from. Because good news, you're allowed to evolve and recalculate and refine along the way. By doing this, you're going to grow in clarity. So nothing about your first step locks you in forever. I am proof of that. What matters is that you begin. So as we move through this 21-day series together, we're going to keep coming back to this because the purpose you have becomes impact through movement, not perfection. So there's one simple reflection I'm going to leave with you today. If clarity could only come after action, what's one small step that you're willing to take this week? You don't need a full plan. You don't need a perfect launch strategy. You just need to take the next step. That's how purpose turns into impact.